You're listening to Make It Big, a podcast about all things e-commerce, created by BigCommerce.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Make It Big podcast. I'm Pablo Gallaga, and I'm Senior Manager of Content Marketing at BigCommerce. Today, we'll be trying something a little different with a shorter podcast episode than you might be used to. We are microcasting. We'll still be publishing full-length episodes, but from time to time, we'll be publishing these microcasts so you can get the insights you need and get on with your day. Today's topic is BigCommerce's Global Consumer Report, Current and Future Shopping Trends. BigCommerce commissioned a survey of over 4,000 consumers with Profitwell and compiled the results into a report, along with insights provided by Google. Joining us today breaking down the findings is my colleague and friend, Shelley Kilpatrick, Content Marketing Manager at BigCommerce, and a force when it comes to e-commerce content and data insights. Shelley, welcome again to the Make It Big podcast.
Thank you. It's so great to be back. I'm very excited to dig into the content today and have a great discussion with you.
It's great to have you back. So before we jump into it, I think we should take a moment to thank Profitwell and Google for their collaboration. And I should point out just how good this report is as a result of that groundwork you laid with them. So let's dive right in. Let's start out by outlining the topics the report covers. What did you set out to learn more about when you commissioned the survey?
Yeah, so what we really were trying to do was find insights that you couldn't find anywhere else. Like, we wanted to see what's new, what's different, what's emerging trends. So we wanted to look at a few different things that were like standout. Was obviously the big topics that we hear about all the time, like the metaverse. We wanted to learn about NFTs, cryptocurrency, like how do people really feel about these things? Do they understand them? And then we wanted to look at trends that have been around a while and really understand like how important are they to consumers? So data privacy, personalization, sustainability. So these are the things we really wanted to like dig into and get some true data and insights about where consumers are at with these things.
And what exactly would you say is the current landscape of online shoppers? How frequently do they shop online? What are they looking for?
You know, as we've all heard, the pandemic really accelerated e-commerce. We've been saying that for a long time. So we really wanted to see, like, what is the real frequency? Really get granular with it. And what we found is over half of consumers shop online at least once a week. More shop more often, so like 2 or 3 times. Like, it was pretty interesting to see that that's the frequency. Mostly they're buying apparel and clothing and fashion. You know, that's probably one of the most well-known things to buy. We also found electronics. That's another top category.
That sounds like me.
I'm definitely the fashion one. We actually, on our team, Brett, we were talking about, you know, what do you buy online? And he said he is an in-person guy. Yeah. And shoes. That's like the one thing he buys online. So that's pretty interesting. I think with apparel being such a big, you know, online purchase that people are making, it's a really good place for brands to like innovate. Like, where are they innovating in retail, knowing that fashion is a top category people are buying online? So whether that's AR, VR, the metaverse, I know we'll get into that, but brands, I think just looking for data, we saw like Gucci and other major fashion brands are the ones that are kind of pioneering the metaverse. So fashion is such an interesting industry because they're pioneering a lot of things.
And do consumers care about discounts? Is that anything that's affecting what they do online?
Yeah, I know, like, you know, discounts are something that have been around forever. But I still think it's important to really get a pulse on which ones are, you know, the most important to consumers. And unsurprisingly, as we all know, free shipping was the number one choice. Consumers want free shipping. They expect free shipping. If you're looking to increase your conversion rates, free shipping, that is the go-to.
Good insight there. And that's a really good baseline to keep in mind as we get into the more specific insights we have. So thinking about these consumers who buy something online more than once, what types of brands catch their interest? In other words, how important is it to them that a brand values their privacy or builds sustainability into their plans?
Yeah, that was something we wanted to look at to see because, you know, just as the world has changed, we wanted to see how consumers feel about brands. Like, loyalty is such a interesting commodity to consumers. And so what really drives that brand loyalty? And it's getting to know your brand, who you are behind the products you sell. Like, yes, your products are important, but who you are as a brand is almost just as important these days. Like, it's what makes you stand out. And so consumers want to buy from brands that are honest and transparent. That was the number one thing we found. The next thing we found that was particularly interesting, I think, to all of us was that providing employees with fair wages was the second most important thing. So how you treat your employees is so critical at this time. And, with the economy the way it is, whatever you need to do to stand out is probably invest in your brand, your story, being upfront, being transparent. Also, sustainability. I think it was 84% of consumers prioritize sustainability when making a purchase decision, especially young consumers, Gen Z, millennials. They want to protect the planet. They care about where their products are coming from. Search trends from Google, we looked at that. And it said that sustainable products, sustainable brands, sustainable packaging, these were all search terms that have grown in popularity over the last 5 years. And so I think, being honest, being transparent, caring about your employees, and caring about the planet is what's going to set you apart from your competition and really drive that brand loyalty.
So you touched on it a little bit here. I was going to ask if this sort of thing splits across generational lines. Do you think baby boomers and Gen X also care about sustainability and privacy?
Yeah, they do. Gen X, baby boomers, they care about sustainability. That's, it was important to them, just as it is for Gen Z and millennials. Privacy was a really interesting one that we found, that Gen X and baby boomers were less willing to share their data for personalization. So they definitely hold on to it more and are more skeptical, which makes sense because they didn't necessarily grow up with the internet. Like, my dad saw something one time where it connected your Facebook to a comment thread, and he was like, "I'm off of Facebook. I can't be on this anymore." And it was like, Dad, that's not how that works. But, I think sometimes, they value different things than younger generations, but that's not a bad thing. I think that's just how we grew up. We're, as older millennials, a little more familiar with the internet, and we've kind of accepted that exchange of personalization for our data, growing up with Facebook and email and all of those things. So I think it's really for brands about what you do with that information, being honest and transparent about how you use it. Back to that same thing. So be honest and transparent about how you're using customers' data. Make sure they know that you're, not selling it off. You're using it to create better products for them. You're creating a better experience. You're using it in an ethical way. And I think that's a better way to look at data and personalization.
So going back a bit to talking about the digital and growing up with the internet, let's talk about crypto. This report covers cryptocurrency usage in online retail, NFTs, the metaverse. What did you find out about how ready consumers are for all of this to overtake their e-commerce experience?
Crypto is a really interesting one because we found it was only 5% of consumers surveyed said they had used crypto, but one of the biggest blockers to using crypto was that retailers didn't offer it. So I think that's ties back to a previous report we had done. I think when I was on the podcast, we talked about it, of alternative payment methods like buy now, pay later and digital wallets. And it's just having more options really gives consumers the ability to pay how they want. Some people really do want to pay with crypto. So I think it's all about catering to that choice, what consumers want. Again, this is where you can use your data ethically to see what are the ways people want to pay. You can survey them. You can ask them these questions. If you're selling to a really young audience, maybe they do want to pay with crypto. Maybe that's, their generation's PayPal. Of course, my personal opinion on crypto is that it's maybe not the most stable currency, but it doesn't hurt to dip your toe in sometimes.
I think I'm with you there. I think I kind of feel the same way you do. And, we're talking about, we talk about this a lot, meeting your consumers where they are. And that's what this seems like, you need to make those decisions based on that.
Yeah. And then, talking more about the like emerging trends, the metaverse, that was one I was surprised that I think it was 26% of people had a strong understanding of the metaverse in that they could like explain it to someone else. That one was like super surprising to me. But then at the same time, I know, right?
That's a lot of people.
A lot of people have this strong understanding. I think it's because we've kind of created this idea of virtual reality and virtual worlds in our media, in movies and books and things like that. So, I mean, honestly, it's really exciting to be around seeing that in its infancy. Like, I really do think it's still in its infancy because a true metaverse you'd be able to take the products you buy from one to the next. So maybe we'll get there someday. At least for now, we're really creating some interesting virtual worlds and concepts. And, I think younger generations are really going to explore that the way our generation had video games and we grew up with video games. They're going to grow up with more virtual experiences and, virtual reality goggles and making purchases. That's already like happening in the gaming world, especially is making purchases, buying clothing and items for your avatar and your player. And I think metaverse is kind of an extension of that. So people are more familiar with it. So I think it'll be interesting to see where that goes. For brands, again, it's kind of like if it makes sense for you, dip your toe in, see what happens, explore it. But don't like necessarily go all in on it at this time. It's still kind of emerging. NFTs are another one we looked at. People had a lot less familiarity with NFTs. They weren't quite as knowledgeable.
They're hard to understand. It's tough to explain.
Yeah, I think that's part of it too, is virtual world. Okay, I can say that. I can get that. NFTs, digital content. I still don't even really understand it.
Non-fungible tokens. Non-fungible. Whatever that means.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on NFTs? You helped with this stuff. What do you think?
Oh, I have opinions, but no, I've talked with some very knowledgeable people recently, and what's interesting about them, I think, is that it's less about the asset you're purchasing. It's more about the membership you're getting yourself into. So in the case of Bored Ape Yacht Club, they're having parties and stuff in the real world, and it's because you own one of those apes. Like that's fascinating to me, but I don't know. Well, it's one of those things we just have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, that is super interesting. And digital, flows back into the metaverse and crypto, and it's all kind of interconnected, and we'll kind of see where that goes. I think that's one of the more interesting things about being in the e-commerce industry, is seeing which trends take off. What's the next big thing? Is this it? I don't know. It's still a little early, but it's exciting to watch and see and learn, which is the entire point of the report, was to learn and get data and be able to share that with like our merchants and people who aren't our merchants, and just anybody to help them make better informed decisions,
So speaking of being informed, we're unfortunately coming to the end of our time here. I just want to ask, what did you personally find fascinating about any of the research you did for the report? Was there something that just straight up surprised you?
Yeah, I think it was the metaverse stuff. I think it was 46% of people were interested in shopping in the metaverse. Like, what? I had no idea. Like, that one blew my mind. Well, that's a different
stat. You gave the stat about how many people understood it versus how many are willing to, actually shop in it. So that's good. That's a different stat.
So even if they don't have a strong understanding, they're still willing to shop in the metaverse. Like, that was like what really blew my mind, was that so many people are willing to shop in the metaverse. That was the one I found, I think, the most interesting to me.
Well, this has been awesome, Shelley. Where do our listeners go to get the full report?
Yeah, so we're going to put a link directly to it in the description for the show. You can find it, download it, read it. We're really excited about it and so excited to share these insights with you.
Cool. I just want to thank Shelley Kilpatrick again for joining us on the Make It Big podcast. and sharing such great insights. It was great having you on the show again, Shelley.
It was great to be here. I hope I get to come back soon.
Oh, you will. You'll definitely be back. And that's all of our time today. Please be sure to follow the Make It Big podcast and stay up to date with the latest insights in e-commerce.
Thanks for listening to the Make It Big podcast. For even more cutting-edge insights, check out our Make It Big conference, now available on demand. You'll get e-commerce tips and strategies from global thought leaders like Seth Godin and Jenny Fleiss, plus expert advice from partners like Google, TikTok, and more. Watch today on BigCommerce.com.